welcome back to Hey Girl Hey, Life Through the Lens of Female Friendship. I'm your host, Becky Kessler Sykes, and we are rolling with season 2 now, you guys. Today's guest is very special to me, not just because of what she's built, but because of who she's been in my life. I'm joined by my cousin, Olivia Bailey. Olivia and I grew up together, very close, and while life has taken us to different places, we've done our best to remain deeply connected through all the seasons. Olivia lives in Texas with her beautiful family and is known in our family and beyond for creating unique, thoughtful, and intentional paths forward for herself and her family. From homeschooling her children to living plant-based for many years to supporting and selling holistic products she truly believes in. And most recently, over the last couple years, Olivia has started a sourdough business called Sourdough that has grown rapidly in demand and popularity, evolving from home kitchen bakes to restaurant-grade equipment and community-centered offerings. This conversation is about listening to the nudge, building slowly and honestly, and learning as you go, even when it's uncomfortable. Liv, welcome. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. How's it going?
Doing great.
I feel honored to be
I'm
here.
so happy you're here. I love you so much. So this will be exciting for me. Before we hit record for the podcast today, we were kind of realizing that I've been watching her journey through the lens of social media, but connecting as cousins and friends, we've only gotten to do less than a handful of times in the last couple years. So this will be such a great opportunity for me to learn a little bit more about this journey for you with the sourdough business. And I'm super excited.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, the times we've seen each other, there's lots of other family around. One of them being your wedding. So yeah, we have had a lot of one-on-one time in the last couple of years.
It's true. Before we get into the sourdough, which we will, I want to zoom out for a moment. You've often been someone who chooses intentional over conventional in your life. Where do you think that comes from? And was that always something that you felt even when we were growing up?
Right. And I was kind of like, where does that come from? In my thinking about that, I feel like when people first meet me, at least, and even if you know me well, I am more the quieter person, if you will. I'm more the listener. In a relationship, could ask questions, and so part of it, I think, is just an innate thing in me. I'm a big thinker, and then from there, I guess I take action.
Interested in growth and growth mindset. Yeah.
Yes.
And you'd think that's just like a prerequisite that everyone has, but it's not really. Particular kudos to you, because I think a lot of people that want to do things a little bit different than maybe the family culture that they came from, they move away and they go seek that, like I did, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then it almost becomes easier in a sense. But you have stayed so connected and even in close physical proximity to your family and still have felt comfortable. And I imagine they've given you the freedom and support to explore these different ways of living that aren't in exact alignment with how you were raised or how they're still operating. And I think that's really beautiful and probably good for everybody.
Right. Well, I will say, so I met my husband of, gosh, we're going to have our 25th anniversary this year. So we were babies basically when we got together. Like, he has also been a big influence on that kind of living a different, kind of against the grain, if you will, lifestyle, not always just going in the same direction as everybody else. So us together, bringing me in and my intentionality, and then just him and us talking through things. He's definitely been a big contributing factor in that as well. And then when we had kids, it makes you think even more about, like, how do we want to live life? But the choices that we made then are also becoming more and more, I don't want to say popular, but more and more common. We're glad we're kind of doing it different, especially kind of like when COVID hit. I mean, it was still a big deal for us, but not as much change for us. Sometimes it's been questioned, which is fine, but even those that have questioned, like homeschooling, for example, everybody would worry about, well, how are they going to socialize and stuff like that, which I know we're going to talk more about homeschooling. Then, like 10 years later, people that have said that, like, well, we're so proud of you and like so glad that you actually made that decision. So yes, I do have the support and I'm very thankful for it.
That's wonderful. So. Yeah. And to your point, connecting it to COVID again, when that happened and you're homeschooling, like you said, you already have that infrastructure built in that everyone else had to pivot and go towards, or being tapped into the family being the core and slowing down and everything else goes from that. A lot of people returned to that had gotten away from it. And you guys were already sitting in that place. So I'm hearing that your thoughtfulness is really innate you also have a partner that's always kind of, questioned the status quo a little bit. And so you guys as a team
Mhm.
together have really made choices to make your life intentional, not because you were wired a certain way, but because you want to take steps towards doing it a particular way.
Right.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the bread. So we've touched on COVID a little bit, but I will say that the sourdough trend exploded during the pandemic, right? You saw it on social media. You had a neighbor down the street that would drop some on your front porch with their mask on. Like it was everywhere, and there was a buzz about sourdough. Is that when you started to pique your curiosity around it? Was there kind of a delayed interest? Where did it start for you?
My interest was delayed, so I wasn't aware about the popularity of it when I started it. I made my first sourdough loaf February 3rd of
Okay,
2024.
and who gave you that starter, girl?
A friend of mine who does sourdough not too far from me, she has her own business. She gave me a starter and I made my first loaf, and then I had fun doing it. Okay. So I had kind of been a bread lover, but I'm also like into health and wellness. And bread can have a bad rap, which a lot of the store bought breads, they're not good for you, right? And they do spike your blood sugar and cause health problems. So, through my health journey, I've cut out bread and always come back to it because I love it. I remember growing up, and that's part of probably why I love bread and fresh bread. Or of course, who doesn't, right? But is my parents would make a fresh loaf in their little bread machine that does its thing and pops out a nice loaf. You just pour in the
Right.
ingredients, and we'd devour it as soon as it was out. We'd have a stick of butter and spread it on there, and the five of us would devour it. And so then, really, a year before I got my starter, I had started seeing some stuff on social media. So it was probably 2023, and I was like, "Oh, I'd never thought about making my own bread." And so I tried to make a starter, and I thought I failed, so I gave up. So I was like, "Well, I don't know. I'm not going to mess with that right now. I can't do the starter thing." And so I just kind of put it aside, and I'd see it here and there in social media. And then of course I met this girl that gave me the starter through my son's karate. And I was like, "Ooh." And I was like, "I tried to make a starter last year and it just didn't turn out." And so she's like, "Well, I'll give you some." I'm like, "Sweet." And so she did, and I just learned about it and made my first loaf, and it probably wasn't the prettiest thing, but it tasted good, and I just kept making it. I enjoyed it, which was funny to me because I've always said I'm not a baker. I don't like to bake cakes and like I've just never been a big dessert person. You could probably attest to that when you're like, "How are you not eating these desserts at all our family
Right.
functions?" I remember you and
And
Katie
we're over
like,
at the cake, like,
"Why aren't you eating it?" I'm like, "I don't like dessert." So that's in my mind, that's what a baker was, is just doing
mhm,
desserts, right? And so I would always say that I'm not a baker. I'm not a baker. I like quick and easy meals, and if you know anything about sourdough, it's not quick. And I'm baking, but I enjoyed that process, and so I just kept making loaves, and then I started sharing them with friends and family, and then my kids. Our family, we would do farmers market. So my son draws caricatures, and when he got into drawing them, he started wanting to do them for people. So he had a way to make money. So we joined a farmer's market, and we were all sitting around supporting him. And then, of course, my daughter's like watching him make money, and she's like, "I want to make some money." And so then we thought, well, lemonade. And so we decided, well, we'll just have a lemonade stand at the farmers markets for her. So, anyways, both of my kids were making some money at farmers markets, um, doing their thing. And I was like, well, gosh, I'm already at farmers markets. I'm just going to take some bread. And so I took 10 loaves and I gave a couple away to the farmers market people, and sold the rest. And I kept just going back. Well, that farmers market ended up opening up a little farm store where they raise their own cattle and do their own beef and vegetables and stuff like that. And they really loved my sourdough bread, so they asked me to be part of the store. So that really helped my business
and
taking
was that
off.
because you
And
had more fixed visibility, like, in their market?
yeah, they I you know started stocking their shelves like with 10 loaves and then 20 loaves. And, so they're open 5 days a
Right.
week, started getting more and more customers. And now, my bread is a pretty big hit there along with all their other stuff. But so, yeah, so it's just like, as they were growing, my business was growing, and, word of mouth to other people trying to build up porch pickups from my front porch and stuff like that. It's just taken off. Like I didn't even expect it to take off like it did.
It's been so fun to watch. You'll create these reels on Instagram or wherever it is I'm seeing them of dough day where your hands are in the dough, and I imagine these reels are getting very popular because anything that's like sensory stuff like that, people love to watch.
Oh,
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's a feel good watch. You always have positive messaging on it. You can see how much joy it's bringing you, and then you have this finished, very satisfied product. It's been beautiful to see it. I was going to ask you about the jump up as the demand started to increase and you're baking out of your own single oven in your kitchen and with your, stand mixer on the kitchen counter and the demand grows. Tell us about the bump up to more restaurant grade appliances that required.
Yeah. So, a couple months into my business, things started slowly picking up, and then like I said, the store opened, and my business just jumped from it basically for several months in a row. It was like it was double what it was the month before, double what it was the month
Wow.
before. And I was like, oh gosh, oh gosh. And so at that rate, I was like, I'm going to need more equipment if I want to be able to say yes, which I did. I want to be able to serve more people delicious bread, and I want to make more money, to help support my family. And Justin was seeing it too. He was like, yeah, we might need to buy more stuff,
Yeah.
We got the mixer, which, family has helped, invest, if you will, in the business, helped me purchase some items. And then soon after that, we got the bread oven, which my oven, I was able to cook 6 loaves at a time in my home oven. So I went from being able to do 6 in my oven to I can do up to 18 in my oven now. So I basically tripled the amount of what I can do in the same amount of time as far as the baking it. So, and like having a mixer saves your hands, so I was like starting to feel like carpal tunnel type stuff in my wrists. And so it's just having the right equipment helps, if you want to scale and have a bigger home-based bakery business.
And to have it be organic like that, where you were making the money to justify that investment, I think some
Yeah.
people might jump in and invest in that all at the beginning and just try to put the cart before the horse, and that's risky. It's risky enough to be an
it
entrepreneur. So to do it in the right order so you're not just chasing your tail financially is really important.
and that's what the whole thing has been, is very organic, and it's just been a great journey, great learning journey. It's been fun, it's been hard. I have 2 teenagers. They both work and I pay them. So when I leave to go do deliveries, my daughter comes with me because she just loves riding along. And she loves seeing the people at the farm store that I deliver to. And my son cleans. So when I come back, my house is clean. It is a lot of dishes. Okay. And so that was one thing when I started getting busier, I'm like, okay, I'll pay y'all $10 a week, and here's y'all's stuff. And then soon enough, I was like, okay, I can't just do $10 a week. I'm going to need y'all for some hours.
What a fertile ground to be teaching them the hard work, but also the spoils that come along with the hard work so that they can really get that
Right.
built in. They can save money. They can spend time with you guys. You're modeling such great things for them. I just think it's awesome all the way around.
I mean, partially because being a single income family, like we just never had a lot of extra money. It's like, well, if you want that iPad, you're going to have to at least save for half of it, so how are you going to earn that money? So we've always just kind of like, y'all are earning half of what you want, which is a great lesson as well, because I think they take care of things better when they have some skin in the game. So
Absolutely. I think that's great. Well, that seems like a really natural transition into the homeschooling conversation. Tell us and our viewers and our listeners what the journey has been like homeschooling your kids, number one, and how you're balancing that now that you are a double income family and you're now working this home business.
right. So the journey of homeschooling it's been a great one overall. Definitely not an easy one. Of course, when they're small, it is easier. You get to do the fun arts and crafts and, the little field trips and stuff like that. And then as the curriculum gets harder and harder, you spend obviously more time on that. I guess in the beginning, it was always kind of like, well, we'll just take it year by year. And if it's not working for me, or if we don't think it's working for the kids, then we'll back out or like pivot or whatever. But it's worked and the kids love it.
As I'm listening to you, I'm sort of thinking, I would imagine that doing the homeschooling with your kids, having a plant-based diet for however many years you did that, those are things that are sort of on the fringe of the status quo. So you finding information on how to do all of that is a lot of work. You have to go seek out the right articles and research this and follow the right vlogger and all of the things if you want to get really insightful, science backed info. And I would
Right.
imagine that those kind of lifestyles set you up for being a business owner so much more than your average person. Because being an entrepreneur, you are finding the answer to every question for yourself. You're researching what flour, what oven, all the things that are
Mm-hmm.
involved in learning something new and trying to grow it. Would you say that that's true?
Definitely. Absolutely. And me and my husband were talking not too long ago he made the comment because I did Arbonne for like at least 5 years. And I made some money from it and I had fun with it. And I think it used to bother him, like with me trying to learn the social media and do this and that. And then like the return wasn't as great as we would have liked. But he was commenting yesterday that he's like, it's interesting to see because he's like, the things you learned in Arbonne and especially on the social media side of things, he's like, you've been able to apply to this business and grow your social media in the way you want it to. So yes, I guess just all of life's lessons, build up and help you in your next, adventure.
Absolutely. That's the magical recipe of life that I have found along the way. Again, it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that it's easy, but it means you're a little bit more prepared because of everything that you've gone
Right.
through.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Life's not always easy. It's probably more hard than easy most of the time.
What's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
One of the hardest things is saying no and turning away business, like, because you're busy. That's a good place to be in, but sometimes you're like you want to just say yes. And and you can't take on everything. Like I had an incident this last fall. I booked myself pretty full. I knew fall was a good time as a baker, especially people were buying stuff. I knew I could get my name out there. So I signed up for lots of markets, lots of pop-ups, sometimes double on a day. And that's a lot of baking and stuff. And so one week I had a sourdough class on a Sunday. I had my normal bake days on Tuesday and Friday. I picked up a pop up Wednesday, and then I had two pop ups on that Saturday. And I was exhausted by the end of the week, and I had to cancel my Saturday pop ups because my bread ended up being super
Mm.
flat. People are like, well, what happened? And I'm like, well, I'm not really sure, but like when I sat back and thought about it, I'm like, I took on too much that week, and I probably didn't care for my starter like it needed to be cared for. And it was just too much. So, I mean, one of the biggest lessons is just like you have to, I guess you have to know, I guess, obviously what your goals are and what your limitations are, and be okay with saying no. Sometimes you don't have to be at everything or do everything, and you have to delegate. So I'm also having to learn that with my kids. Just like, well, what else can they take on? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, you're going to
So
figure it out, I'm sure. So let's pause for a second. You have mentioned farmers markets, the farm store, delivering bread pickups, these new workshops and classes that you're doing.
mhm.
Let's get the whole rundown where people can find you, online, where people can find you physically in the Houston area. And let's get some bread sold.
Yeah. Okay. I'm in the farm store, which is called Kingdom Oaks Farm Store, and it's in Waller, Texas, which is just basically part of Houston. So I'm in the farm store and I do a little market out there the second and fourth Saturday of the month when it's running. So it's kind of in its off season right now. But what I'm really focusing on now is growing my porch pickups, whether that's from my own porch or from somebody's porch so that like their local community has a closer place to pick up. So you can find me on, I'm busiest on Instagram, is where I'm, I guess, the most consistent, if you will. It's at Odo_sourdough bakery, I believe is what my handle is. I need to look.
We're going to link it on our YouTube channel so people can find you directly there.
I'm going to be working on a website this year, but you can find me on Instagram, and then through Instagram, you'll be able to find a link where you can order bread.
Perfect.
And then like do a porch pickup from me, or on the Instagram, you'll also see like the events that I have that month, and you can come, support me there or whatever.
So classes or workshops that you do will also be listed on your Instagram. And not to go down a whole health and wellness rabbit hole, but give us just like a few bullet points of why sourdough bread is more healthy, good for the gut, etc., than your average bread that you might find at the market.
Yeah. Well, one, bread should only have about 3 to 5 ingredients. But if you go to the store and buy a store-bought sourdough, there are more than 3 to 5 ingredients. There's probably at least 10. There's usually some commercial yeast in there, etc. So, point being, you should have very minimal ingredients in your bread. And look at the store-bought breads. There's a lot in there. So that's number one. Number two, it's very gut friendly. So the wild yeast has lactobacillus that grows in it, that helps nurture, the good bacteria in your gut. So sourdough bread takes approximately, and for some people you could stretch it out longer, but like my process is about a 36-hour period from the time I feed my starter until the time I bake my bread. And so that long fermentation process helps break down the glutens and the sugars that are in your bread, and therefore there's less gluten in it. And then with the less sugars, because of the long fermentation process, it has a lower glycemic index.
What you've built is so inspiring to me, and hopefully to our listeners and viewers as well. It's really wonderful to see a woman, a mommy, step into the power of being an entrepreneur and put in the hard work and see the kind of benefits that you're seeing. So well done, you. I would love to hear, as you look forward to the future, what ideas are stirring for the business. What's the next step for Odo?
The state of Texas in 2011 determined that from home, your gross sales can't exceed 50,000. So when I first started this business and things started kind of picking up, and I'm like, well, that's going to be my goal, $50,000. I was like, and if I reach that, then we'll have to just figure out what to do next. But in 2025, thankfully, enough people pushed to have that law changed. And so now it's 150,000 that we can generate from in gross sales from home. I reached the first goal this year in 2025 in bread sales. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I guess my vision is to max out basically in the next couple of years, probably not this year, but max out in the next couple of years what I'm able to make at home. People ask, well, do you think you'll open up a bakery? And I'm like, I don't know. Like maybe one day. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm also not like, that's not my vision right now. Because I wanted to do something from home to continue to be home with my kids. And so while they're home with me, it will remain a home-based business. I just want to expand my local reach, the amount of people that I am able to supply with good, nutritious, delicious bread.
Well, it certainly sounds like you've got enough growth going on right now to ride for a while.
Yes, the growth is continuing.
One more question for you. If there are women out there that are kind of thinking about starting their own home business, whatever that may be, any words of wisdom or advice you might have for them?
Always just do it. Just do it. Go for it. I mean, tackle each obstacle that comes your way. Do all the research that you need to, but just take the first step. You won't regret it, or you'll at least learn things from it. Say if it's not a successful endeavor, which I've had several, not that weren't super successful, but they were in a way because I learned from it, right? And I'm able to apply it to, future stuff.
I love that. All right. Well, before I close out the episode, I would love to ask you a list of our rapid fire questions that I ask every guest that comes on the podcast. So name a place on your travel bucket list.
Well, I've only been once, and it's Hawaii, and I loved it, and I would love to go back.
Lights on or lights off?
Lights off.
What TV show title describes your life currently?
The Great British Baking Show.
Chocolate chip cookies or potato chips?
Chocolate chip cookies.
What's a song that's sure to get you on the dance floor?
Like 90s to early 2000s hip hop. One that comes to mind it's called Diddy by Paperboy.
Sounds good. Who would you pick as your road trip buddy?
Justin, my husband.
Yeah. You guys are a good team for sure. Thank you not just for this conversation, but for the way you live your life with so much intention and heart. It's been a gift to witness, be a part of from childhood until now. I love you so much.
I love you too.
And to everyone listening, if this podcast reminded you that there's no one right way to build a life or business, take that as permission. Take Olivia's advice. Just do it. Just take the first step. You won't regret it. You'll learn something along the way, no matter what. So that's it for today. Tune in next week for Hey Girl Hey, Season 2. Signing off. Bye, everybody.